If you have an online business, getting more visible should definitely be on your to-do list for the year to come. You might have the most amazing offer on earth, but if no one knows about you or your business, you're not going to experience the success that you deserve. Publicity will boost your credibility, build your authority, pump up your email list, and ultimately increase your bottom line. The tough part, though, is actually knowing how to get publicity in the first place. Today, I'm talking with PR expert Almira Bardai, and she is going to take the mystery out of getting the publicity that you and your business deserve. Almira is one of North America's leading experts in brand building and communications, having spent the last 2 decades creating powerful narratives for both domestic and global brands like Flight Centre, Granville Island Brewing, Nike, Best Buy, Future Shop, Molson, and TELUS. So let's dive in. I'm Rachel Harrison-Sund, and I help online entrepreneurs make more money so they can live more life. If you are an aspiring online entrepreneur and you feel like you could use a little help mapping out your first steps, please download my free guide, the 4-step, no time to waste online business startup blueprint, down in the description below. This guide is going to take you through all of the steps of starting an online knowledge-based business, from idea generation right through to creating an offer and marketing it to your audience. So do check that out. Hello, Almira. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Before we get into it, can you just give us, like a little bit of a history of your background in PR?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so excited to have this conversation. So I've been in PR for 25 years, which is always hard to say because, time just like flies. But literally that's how long I've been in the industry. And working with my clients on the corporate side to build up their personal brands, their company. And then, of course, I coach as well and teaching entrepreneurs how to do their own PR. So I've really been in the game for a long time.
That's amazing. So would you say that there are any particular, like personal brands, online businesses, or what have you, that should make getting publicity a priority? Or is this something that's kind of applicable to anyone that's running a business?
Yeah, 100% to everybody. And one thing I want to clarify, which I'm sure we'll get into it as well, is that what exactly is publicity and what is PR? But it's all to say is that everybody could benefit from it because it really establishes your credibility, your authority, and your expertise. Think about it. When you do anything, we're human beings in that we want the best of everything, or we want the expert, right? So when you seeing somebody being quoted in the media or being on a podcast, we're naturally thinking, our brains are like, oh, they're really good or they're really qualified, right? And so who would you, if you're a coach, for example, and you're trying to get clients, who are clients going to pick? The one who's had media interviews or the one that hasn't, right? Or the ones that promoting themselves or doing a really good job on Instagram. And so it's all about being visible, but then also having the right kind of visibility, which is what PR comes down to.
Right. So can you just kind of go over the different possible mediums that people can get publicity in?
Yeah. So let's take it a step back and explain what PR really started out as. And for the longest time, that's what it was. It's really changed, I would say, in about the last 10 years. And so it was getting into print, radio, or TV. And so you'd read the newspaper or watch something on TV, and it would be a news story, or it could have been something like an interview on Oprah those types of media interviews. And that's exactly what PR really started out as. And 90% of what you read or see in a newspaper, TV, all of that stuff, it's actually a PR person pitching that story to the media. It's not as if the media are being investigative or anything. There's not enough time. So that's what they really rely on, PR people, publicity, publicists, PR people, to do that work to get them into the media. And so it was all about pitching it to the media and getting the story in for free. But the media industry has really changed, and it's mostly because of money and the way that people are consuming. And so first of all, people were not buying the local or the regional, so we're here in Vancouver. And so people were not buying the Vancouver Sun as much, or not everybody was watching TV, especially as people, we have more young people, they're not watching TV necessarily. They might have Apple TV or Netflix, right? So because the industry changed and the demand changed, it's really evolved. And so social media has become part of it, Instagram, TikTok, those types of things. That is PR publicity when you get the interview, but it also encompasses paying for a story on yourself. If it's a really good publication and it's worth the money, great, pay for it. It's still seen as credible now, and it's actually a really great way to get yourself out there. And so going back to it, what PR is now is that it's really about strong visibility. Yes, getting into those media outlets, being radio, TV, online, especially like blogs or online magazines. I mean, as we've seen, there's very few hard copy magazines out there. It's all online. And then getting into podcasts, which I love podcasts. I think they really democratized PR. And then, of course, like now we have Instagram. And I mean, back then when it started, it was like Facebook and Instagram. But now it's really like it's Facebook and Twitter. But now it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and all the social media platforms. And it's also thinking about your owned channels being our own blogs, our own email newsletters, our own Instagram, our own YouTube channels. Those are our forms of owned channels, owned PR channels, where we're putting out our message. What is it that we're trying to say, getting ourselves out there, creating transformations and transitions, and attracting new clients. Make sense?
Very cool. Yes. Yeah, totally. So do you think there are any like one or two particular mediums that it's really important to focus on? Like podcasts or guest posting on blogs or, getting that article in Forbes, or is it better to have sort of a multi-pronged strategy where you're trying to kind of get into a little bit of each one?
Yeah. So it really depends actually is what is your business and who is your client base? So for example, if you are a business person and you're trying to create business collaborations, you should actually be on LinkedIn. Instagram is not necessarily going to do anything for you. TikTok probably won't, but I mean, we're seeing so many different things happening to TikTok, right? But realistically, you want to be on LinkedIn and potentially your own blog. If you are a coach, you want to be on either Instagram or TikTok, but then of course, maximizing your email list, right? Because we all talk about is that what happens if all the platforms go bust one day? What is the one thing you're going to own? For somebody like yourself, you're absolutely leveraging YouTube and Instagram. I've seen, I don't know if you're on TikTok. Are you?
Well, I've kind of got a love-hate relationship with Instagram, certainly. Like I kind of just go in these fits and starts where I'll like go hard for a couple of weeks and then I get busy and like I totally drop off the face of the earth. And even more so with TikTok, like I've got my account set up. I don't even think I've posted anything. It's another one of those things that's just been kind of like on the back burner. Which, kind of like I should start or I will start soon, but I definitely haven't leveraged either of those in the way that they could.
I really make sure that it leverages your business goals. And that's for me what it's always been about. I have one client. So I have my agency side and my coaching side. And on the agency side, I had a client who's a venture capitalist. And he wasn't looking to promote any of the work that he was doing. He was looking to actually get in front of more deals. So the deal flow. So, okay, what happens there? What are entrepreneurs reading? What are we putting out? So we actually leveraged his LinkedIn and then also did community events. And when I say community, I mean entrepreneurship events with high profile speakers, because it increases his credibility and it increases his deal flow and then continued deal flow. And also by nurturing the entrepreneurs that he was working with, they make more money, he makes more money. So that's why I say it's really about your business goal and objective. And like, that's for somebody who's, as I call it, like bricks and mortar. He's not online, right? But as an online business, where's your funnel coming from? And so I had one client, all of her referrals, absolutely amazing. All of her clients were coming through Google Ads. So then she's like, what platform do I need to be on? Well, I'm like, well, how much money are you making from your Google Ads? And she was making a ton of money. And it was at a really great price that she actually wasn't paying that much for Google Ads. So I was like, well, I don't think you need to be on anything else, like nurture the other ones, like put out a piece of content on each platform, start testing those waters, right? Don't just rely on one thing, but fundamentally leverage your existing funnel where you already have it. And for me, all of my agency business is built on referrals. And then even on the coaching side, I'm getting a lot of it through my network. So I leverage my networks, but I'm not ignoring Instagram. I think that's a really important platform to tell stories. And like you, I'm like, I should probably be on YouTube. So it's something that I've started to get some content on there as well. But you only have so much time. And it's about like being really laser focused on your goals. What is it you're trying to achieve and what platform you should be on in order to get that PR and to get your story out.
Right. Okay. So I think you kind of already answered this, but is there a particular medium that's best for lead generation? Or again, is it just really about like, where are your ideal customers and meeting them on that, whatever platform that is?
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of coaches do stuff on Facebook and Facebook groups as well, right? So there are the trailblazer accounts like Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs. And that's where a lot of the coaches who get their business from Facebook are posting on these like mega groups, right? But in there, it's not like you're posting about like, oh, I'm looking for XYZ client. Like that's where the copy, the lead gen copy, the exciting copy, like whenever I'm promoting myself, my posts are usually about like who wants to be on a podcast or who wants to get featured in Forbes. And so that's where I get my type of client, but it also comes down to the marketing that you're putting there. If you are, again, a bricks and mortar business, what about a lifestyle publication? That's where you want to be doing that type of PR where you are going into publications. Or if you are a tech company CEO, that's where you'd want to look at a Forbes. Or you can also pay to be in Forbes and to have a column in Forbes or Entrepreneur Magazine. So those are the ones, again, it's the aligned, it's where your goal is. Are you an online business? Okay, if you're online, where should you be? And then, of course, like I said, I love podcasts because you just really get the chance to have the platform and just talk about yourself, talk about how amazing you are. And obviously having a conversation with the podcast host is not like it's super promotional, right? But I do think because we're consuming content differently. And this is what it goes down to is that, there's talk about the recession, right? Both in the US and Canada. And we're still consuming content. People may not be advertising as much. People may not be spending as much. But it's been said that people are still spending money on services, maybe not goods, but they're still spending money on services. And we're also listening to podcasts and consuming content, which is why you still actually especially want to be doing PR during this time and, getting onto your own channels, talking, doing all those things, because people are still looking and watching, right? And they may not be buying now, but you're starting to continue to nurture that community for them to buy then.
Right. I'm just really curious, actually. You said that, you can pay to be in Forbes. I'm curious because you always see that on people's websites, like as seen in Forbes or Inc., whatever. Yeah. Do you know, like what is the ratio of people that are actually, just pitching and having their articles accepted versus people that are actually paying to be in Forbes?
I would probably say it's half. I really would. And so the way that you can know is that you can go, and usually they'll put on their LinkedIn if it says Forbes whatever council. So there's like a Forbes coaching council, or there's a Forbes, I cannot talk apparently, a Forbes financial council or Forbes marketing council. And that's how you usually can tell if it's paid, because the councils are all paid. But again, it's not a bad thing to be paying because it's guaranteed. So you think about it from a time perspective, you can either like try to pitch, keep coming up with all of these ideas. Like there's a lot of work that goes into actually getting into these publications, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can even pitch your idea to Forbes and say, I can write an article, and then you still have to like wait and chase them and follow up. Or you can just become part of the councils. And it's not to say that they'll just take your article just because you're a council. Like there's a proper editorial process behind it. And it does have to take some work, and you have to have something good to say, right? Again, it's not just you can be like, oh, great, I'll just pay, right? They're going to vet you. They want to make sure it's good content. But honestly, they're usually about 2,000 US. I see it as a huge time saver to actually be paying. My rate is like minimum $300 an hour. So it's completely not worth my time to be pitching myself for all of these types of things. I'd actually rather pay. And then, of course, you get to say that you are a Forbes contributor. And of course, the other part of it is that getting to put the logos of the media on your website or included in your bio as featured in, you get to charge more money, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, so that answered my question about how much this costs. So is that like, that's what you'd be paying for one article?
Normally it's a series. So now I haven't done Forbes in a while because I've been really liking Entrepreneur Leadership Network, which is the paid stuff on Entrepreneur Magazine. But the last time I'd spoken with Forbes about 2 years ago was about 1,700 US, and you could publish up to 6 times a year. Whereas Entrepreneur Leadership Network was once a month, and I think it was 1,000 or 2,000 a year. It's not much. And these are in US prices. So again, but if you're not a great writer, you're going to have to hire a ghostwriter who knows how to write a great article, right? It's not something like you pull together and like write to a sloppy job. It has to be properly done. And particularly is that if you're going to leverage it everywhere, if somebody reads your crappy article on Entrepreneur, they're going to be like, well, this is still crappy, right? Just because you get it into Entrepreneur doesn't mean anything. It has to be thought leadership, setting yourself up as the expert, showing your expertise, actually having something different and unique to say, right? And that's when your messaging comes down to it, and sitting with yourself and be like, what is it about me that's so valuable and interesting? And then being able to say it.
Okay. So let's say, for example, that I'm someone just starting out. I don't have the funds to pay to be in Forbes or whatever. What is my first set of steps if I want to get published in it doesn't necessarily have to be Forbes. But just any piece of publicity, really. Like what are my first initial steps?
Sitting down and figuring out what your talent is or what you have to say or what's different. It could even be commenting on what is something that's happening in the media right now. And then depending on the platforms you have is that either do a LinkedIn post, or you could do something on your own blog, or you could do Instagram, do a reel, start talking about it. Reels do perform really well, and getting it out there on your channels. You could also do a Medium article and then get it published to Medium, or just write it on your own Medium, because this comes down to your Google juice, as I call it. If somebody Googles you, there's going to be stuff that comes up, right? Start promoting and pitching your content. So first of all, like figuring out what it is you have to say, start writing it onto your platform. And then I would actually start pitching podcasts, because there's so many podcasts and people love listening to podcasts. I would go after podcasts first. Or maybe there's an IG live that you want to do with somebody, right? Leverage their connections, like do a collaboration and be interviewed on somebody's IG live. That'd be a great way to do it. And then once you have some solid pieces coming up, then I would start pitching the media. The other thing they want to see is that traditional media, radio, TV, online, they're going to look at what you've previously published to be able to see what you've talked about. So that's why it's so important to do stuff on your own channels first, getting really, really, really clear on what it is that you have to say or want to say, and then start pitching.
Okay. So I've done all that now, and now I'm ready to go for some heavy hitters like, Forbes, Entrepreneur Inc., whatever. What is the pitching process?
Email them. So normally it all depends which publication, but you go to the bottom of the publication, and so there's the contact us, and it will say like either departments. So say, for example, you are an entrepreneur who wants to pitch a business idea. You would be looking for, it's usually under article submissions. There'll be a department that you could pitch with an email address. Or there would be editorial submissions. It's all in the bottom usually. But of course, the American publications, they're harder to find sometimes. So you just have to keep trying. And then, or you can just, like, if you want to pay for it, just contact the council department, right? It's usually done through the advertising or sponsorship department. But when you're looking to pitch your own article, is looking for under contact us, like the submissions. But if you're wanting to pitch yourself to be interviewed, find the right reporter or department. Again, if you are an entrepreneur wanting a business story, pitch a business reporter or a business writer, and saying, a great email subject line, got to be super short, to the point, make sure people open it. We are like annihilated, diluted by email, right? And so that's not the right word, not diluted. We're basically like, there's too much email there. So you want to have a really—
I gotcha.
Yeah, totally. I was like, that word did not work. So, and then saying, hi there, quick, short greeting.
Deluged, sorry.
Deluged, thank you. Oh my gosh. So for anybody watching this, I've had a sick kid all week, and I'm basically operating off zero sleep. So apologies if I really can't talk. But this is also about, why I built my business to be the way it is that I am clear about like talking or getting myself out in the media. So to a degree, it's like leads on repeat, right? Because if I was actually needed my business all the time, a week like this would be completely impossible, which is why I'm like, just get out there, do interviews, have the evergreen content so people can still see you and hear you. Anyways, going back to the pitch though, it is like about like, hi there, hope you're having a great day. I'm Almira. I am a expert publicist, 25 years of experience, worked on these clients. My pitch is that I say to them is that I would love to be interviewed about why PR is the number one marketing tool that you need to do during a recession. And then, so it's short, it's sweet. It's like your whole pitch should be 3, maybe 4 paragraphs. So it's an introduction about you. It shows your expertise, and then some the actual angle you want to talk about, and then 3 to 4 bullet points with some talking points as to what you could talk to. Then when you finish it up, you say, please let me know your availability to interview me. It is insane. It makes me crazy when people say, if you're interested in interviewing me, like that's not the energy of wanting, right? It's the energy of being in the expert. Please let me know your availability to interview me. Would love to chat further. Kind regards, Almira. Here's the other thing. Media are rarely going to actually say yes right away. So you do have to follow up. A week later, follow up. And it's not, hi there, did you get my email? It's like, hi there, hope you're having a great day. Love to talk about this. This is particularly relevant in the media right now because of X, Y, Z. Like, is there a good follow-up that you can do? If you followed up 3 times and haven't heard back, consider the pitch dead, but then come up with another campaign idea for the next month. And maybe you're not actually pitching that same reporter. Maybe there's another one. If you're pitching, say, if you have a tech business and you have an AI angle, or you are in metaverse, right? Like, different people are covering different topics. So try a different journalist perhaps, or try a different angle. There's been so much talk about NFTs just like imploding. So that could be something you talk about, but see who's been writing stories about NFTs. That's actually how you develop the media list in the first place, is based on what the journalists are writing. This is now specifically to get somebody to interview you about something. You see what they've already written on. That puts that reporter as a subject matter expert that you could pitch yourself to be their subject matter expert.
Very cool. So what is a good, like, do you have any sort of tried and true techniques of coming up with good story ideas? Because I think a lot of people, they have this impression that their own lives or their own business really aren't that interesting. And I think most of us are actually sitting on really interesting stories, but we're really not giving ourselves credit. So is there a process to sort of like mine those stories that most of us really do have, and we kind of just don't even realize that they're newsworthy?
Look at other people, what they're putting out. I'm sure we all have those moments about like, why didn't I talk about that? I think that's the first thing, is recognizing our own talent and amazingness and our own expertise. And then the other thing is that understanding a bit more about how the media works, which is, of course, what I teach and coach on, but you can still have a look and see what the media are writing on, and just doing your research, looking at them. What are they generally writing on? Starting to see patterns. A reporter will not write the same story twice. That's the first thing. So if you email them and be like, hey, you interviewed my competitor, but now I want you to interview me, they're going to be like, no, forget it, right? But if you can have a different take on something that they've interviewed on, getting yourself in there, it's called newsjacking. So that's the best way to do it, is seeing what are those trends out there, right? What are the media already talking about? How do you get in there? And actually, one of my favorite tried and true is actually publicity days. So national days. Media are so busy. There's not enough journalists anyways right now. So make their job easier. So if you're pitching a food reporter, for example, is there a National Cupcake Day? Are you a baker? Bam, perfect. Pitch them about 6 to 8 weeks in advance and say, I would love to be interviewed. Or if it's a YouTube channel, or if it's TV, can we do an interview for National Cupcake Day? I'm a baker in XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And I make like these amazing cupcakes. It's not about just like, hi, can I bake cupcakes on there? Like, super boring. What is your unique and different angle that is so great for National Cupcake Day, right? And pitch yourself. Like there's so many cupcake stores out there. What makes you special? Why should you be pitching yourself for National Cupcake Day? And again, like, media love days. It makes their job easier. They're looking for unique opportunities. One of my clients is the local baseball team. And so on National Hot Dog Day, like, they have 3-foot long yard dogs, like hot dogs, 3 feet of meat. And so about 6 weeks in advance, and it's because you just have to give journalists notice. If you try and do it the day before, like, they're booked. And so about 6 weeks before, we're saying, hey, National Hot Dog Day is coming up. Can the Canadians send yard dogs? And we literally like send people to drop off hot dogs and do interviews, and everybody's eating hot dogs on air. On TV, it's kind of weird. Like, people are like, eating a hot dog on radio doesn't necessarily work, but then obviously we'll send somebody to like talk about National Hot Dog Day, right? Like, hot dogs and baseball, that is the ultimate experience. And then for my coaching business, for example, is that I'll be putting out a piece of content or doing podcast interviews for Women's Entrepreneurship Day or Entrepreneurship Week. What is it that I can speak on to my experience that I've experienced as an entrepreneur, and particularly as a female entrepreneur? What has been my experience of entrepreneurship all of these years? So I'm trading off my years of experience, my expertise, and I'm turning those into interview opportunities. Make
Awesome.
sense?
Yes. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about thought leadership? Because I know that that's something that you think is very important, and I can understand why, but just maybe talk about why that's important and how people can leverage that in this type of way.
For those coaches who are always like, I've got to hone in on my niche, right? My expertise. That really is what thought leadership is speaking about things that are within your purview as expertise. So if you're an online coach, your thought leadership is speaking about a certain area. That's how you differentiate yourself. If you are a tech CEO or the CEO of a bricks and mortar business, what are you saying again that establishes yourself as a thought leader? Like that you are a leader in this area, or that your thoughts are leading in this area. And one of my clients was the president of a crypto exchange, legit crypto exchange, I will say this. And so when the pandemic hit, we did an article that got into, I can't remember actually if it was Forbes or Entrepreneur, but it was about remote leadership and managing in a remote environment. Because that was the hottest story, because we went from being in the office to being all virtual. And so it was a perfect, timely article, because he was seeing what it was like to manage in a virtual environment. So we got that article up. It was like, great, let's talk about it. Here's how you feel. We got those ideas down. We wrote an article, and then we pitched it, and it got picked up. So again, it wasn't that we were using his expertise in crypto, because also on that side is that when you do thought leadership, it's about taking the bigger picture back and seeing what else you can position yourself. Otherwise, if it was just crypto, he's just going to have a very narrow box of what he could talk about. Talking about crypto at that point is not something that would have gotten him into entrepreneur. But then, of course, as we've seen, like the crypto market just changed. And now if it was something about crypto winter, now that is what everybody is looking at, and that could set up his expertise specific to that area. But again, you think about it from the bigger picture, as much as I talked about from your expertise. But like if you are a leadership coach, you don't just talk leadership. Like it could be talking about leadership in a DEI environment, a time of diversity. Like, oh God, Kate, there's a trend. Everybody's talking about diversity right now. Everybody's talking about people of color. So is there something you could be saying or doing in an interview that speaks to your broader leadership, your broader thought leadership, that would then get you an interview, or even putting it on LinkedIn, right? Journalists are always looking at LinkedIn. There's one publication actually that looks at CEOs' LinkedIn, and then actually like puts a link in their newsletter to an executive's LinkedIn. So again, it's the thought leadership. What are you thinking that establishes you as an expertise that can get you press or an interview or get you more recognized?
I know you mentioned this at the top, but could you say again, what are the industries that you think LinkedIn would be one of the most important platforms to use?
Yeah. I think all businesses, to be honest with you. And I'm seeing so many different types of businesses. I think it's really about anywhere where there is something to be said about business, or your thoughts about your business, or, I mean, marketing people will post about like marketing trends or awards, or that one of my girlfriends, actually, she's specifically a publicist for thought leadership. And she was posting an article today about hybrid PR. So that was really great. So she owns a PR agency. She wants to get in front of other CEOs, and was talking about the hybrid PR model, which is about using like where you just pitch the media, but then also where you pay for articles, that you need to have a budget to pay for articles, which would also include something like Forbes or Entrepreneur Leadership Network. So I think everything is valid, but if your customers are not coming from LinkedIn, I wouldn't use that as my main platform. And I say this because there's a lot of coaches who all their customers are coming in from Instagram. So in that case, again, driving down to your business objective and where you get your clients is that I don't know if LinkedIn is the most effective. However, my argument to this is that I do think that all coaches should be on LinkedIn and posting, because I think the world is moving into an environment where companies will actually pay for coaching, right? And so if you can be a coach who's well recognized or has really thoughtful posts, then an HR person or a marketing person could be like, hey, we'd like to offer your services to our team members, to our employees, or a team member can say to their boss, I'd actually really like to work with this coach, right? So again, as I say, boiling down to your business objective and where you're getting your clients, work that funnel, but starting to pepper content on other platforms, because you never know where you'll get stuff.
Right. Okay. So
does that make strategic sense?
Yeah. What would you say to someone who kind of gets nervous about the thought of being more visible? Like, people that know that they need to get out there in order to get those leads and get those customers, but, maybe they're camera shy, or maybe, it just doesn't come naturally for them to be out there and be the focus of, just being more visible. Any tips And, I'm kind of speaking a little bit about myself.
I know, which is so crazy because you are so good on camera and like you're so well spoken.
Oh,
You're
thank
an
you.
expert in this area. So to me, it's like crazy that you're not doing it, right? But especially with your story, I mean, I had never even heard of KDP when I met you. So you really are one of the pioneers in this area. And you have such a narrative and a story to talk about, from going from in debt to multi-millions, right? Like that in itself is a massive story that could be told all over podcasts and as an expert in the online industry. But, we are
not quite at multi-millions yet, but getting close.
You're getting there. Yeah, there you go. But we're in an era of coaching. Get coached on it. Like you can find a coach to be able to help you speak on camera. And I think that a lot of it comes down to confidence. And for women also, I think that we minimize ourselves. And we're not doing any justice to ourselves by minimizing. And we're not doing any justice to all of the young women who are out there. Or for me, I'm South Asian. And somebody once told me it's my responsibility to get myself out there. I'm not Punjabi, I'm Northern Indian. But they said is that there's a lot of oppressed Punjabi women in our community and in our city. And the more that you stand up for and show yourself as a brown woman, the more that you're going to be encouraging them that the oppression that they have is not acceptable. And I get it. I mean, there's obviously different dynamics and, different issues between like men and women in community. Like I get that, but is that if you can inspire one woman to be able to step out of that or figure out how to create change for herself, then that is actually your responsibility, Almira. And I was like floored by this, right? In the sense that I was just like, well, it's just me. I was like really minimizing myself. And they're just like, it is your responsibility, actually. For women to be able to stand up for each other and to be able to lift each other up and rise, we actually owe it to other women to do it. And yeah, just in general, we're in a time of higher consciousness in the world, right? Everybody needs to get out there and be visible, because what if whatever you have helps somebody get more money, better education, their dream life? Isn't it worth it then to take that responsibility and to do it? Just do it is my advice. Get over yourself and do it.
All such great points. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely probably my biggest driving force is, I've got a now 5-year-old daughter. And yeah, I don't want her seeing me shying away. I want her to have a good example of like, I have a voice, I can get out there, I can use it.
Yeah.
So great point.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you think is really important that you'd like to say before you wrap things up to anyone who's just, dabbling their toes or trying to get out there? They know they need to get more visible. Any other final tips?
It may seem that what I'm talking about is so overwhelming and it's so big and it's so much. And I totally get it. That's why I do PR coaching. But the thing is that don't let it overwhelm you or stop you. I have to say that. If you're just like, oh my gosh, Almira, after listening to this, I actually have no idea because you're talking too much and it's way too in depth and I don't get it. Sit down and do an Instagram story. Or like do a reel, just start talking about it. Or maybe you're a writer and you want to write a blog post. Like everything will come in time. You don't need to do everything at once. And that's not the idea at all. And certainly when we all take that time to slow down and really like be with ourselves and to know what our expertise is, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. The more confident you get in your story and your expertise, the more confident you will then be to pitch the media. Don't let it be too long though, because there's somebody else who's going to have a similar story who's going to go after the media, right? But get familiar with your story, get comfortable with it, and just start talking because you are impacting lives. We're all impacting each other.
Amazing. Where can people find you if they want to find out more about you or your services or just follow you in general?
Yeah. So Instagram at Almira B. I'm also on LinkedIn, Almira Bardai, but best way to get me is in Instagram through the DMs, as the cool kids say.
Awesome. Okay. I'll leave all those links down in the description below. Thank you so much for joining me. It was very enlightening, especially as we go into the new year. And I know that this is something that I need to focus on a little bit more. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there you have it. I hope you found that valuable. And once again, if you're an aspiring online entrepreneur, you feel like you could use a little bit of help mapping out your first steps and a clear path forward, download my free guide, the 4-step, no time to waste online business startup blueprint. You can find that down in the description below. You're also invited to join my free Facebook group, Rachel's Soundbox, also linked to down below. Watch this video next to find out how I turned $100 into $1 million. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share with anyone you think might also enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.